The plan for this project was to make the best router table I could, and replace this absolute abomination of a router table that I bought on Amazon for 88 bucks. And this is the story leading up to the final result. I asked you guys what you think, I've asked friends, and that has given me a plan to make the absolute best router table I could come up with. Or that's what I thought when I started this project. I started right away by breaking down material to make the carcass of this black MDF. Yes, this particular brand is called Forest Color, but there is also another make called Valchromat. The good thing about this, other than the cosmetic features, I mean, why did no one come up with this earlier? Let's take the ugly out of MDF. Is that there's no formaldehyde in the resin, which means less cancer. And so much more satisfying vacuuming. Just look at it go. With the limited space in my workshop, I have to take some of the pieces outside to do the rough cutting. To be able to mark where to cut on this material, I prefer the Pick-a-Dry with the white tips. The graphite lines are impossible to see, and stuff like that drives me crazy. So I spent 10 bucks on white tips. The plans for this project can be downloaded on my website, but I would recommend thinking through what you would want for your particular router table. I also have some explaining to do. I haven't been honest, and today I will let you know about what and why. To add some stability to the carcass, I routed a dado on the two side pieces so that the middle piece will hold everything together. Or that's what I told myself when drawing this up, but I think it was a good idea. With all the pieces cut for the carcass, I could start the assembly. Some say pocket holes are for losing shit, but I say they're perfect for this type of cabinetry, and if you want to do them as friction free and quick as possible, I would suggest this jig from Craig. And I'm not sponsored. It made a hole in my pocket, so to speak, but I don't regret it. It self-adjusts to the thickness of the wood, leaving me one less thing to think about when trying to slalom between mistakes. And I love saving time, especially my own. So when I found this website called Cut List Evolution, I was really happy because they made automatic cut lists from the Fusion file I had. Go check it out. While I'm attaching the casters, I'll tell you what I haven't been honest with. I've been making videos for a long time, and towards the end, I act happy. But the truth is that whenever I finish something, I don't feel much at all. I sort of look at it and feel content at best, but I certainly don't smile and say stuff like, "This turned out really good." It's just not me. But for some reason, me watching other YouTubers made me think I was supposed to do it. In fact, I rarely smile or act out. But I guess the good thing about that is that whenever I do smile, I mean it. So from now on, you'll see and hear the true me. So here's a bit of me not acting. As you can see, this cabinet is really high. For two reasons. One, I'm a very tall guy. But the other reason is that I want this to be without casters in my future workshop. So if I take the casters off, it's going to be 13 centimeters lower, which would be perfect in the new workshop. Or that's what I keep telling myself when I realized it's really high. So until I have a new workshop, I will have to live with this. Now would be a good time to look at what equipment I got for this build. I wanted to have a really good router that will last me a long time, so I opted for a combo from Solder Shop that has both a router lift that can tilt and a powerful enough router. And it wasn't cheap, but I hope it will last me a long time. There are a couple of benefits to making your own router table. It can have all the features you want, you can make it look like you want, and you can make it the height that you want. But you can also pick and choose what type of gear you want for it. The fence is from Banggood and they gave it to me, and it seems to be of high quality, and I chose that because of the stability and ease of install, and I didn't have to pay for it. It comes with a ruler, which I first thought that is no good, but then I was reminded by Steve, my friend, and he's also a professional YouTuber, congrats, that I can still use it to line up the fence and also adjusting the second cut with that. I also bought some other bits and pieces like this brass colored T-track, an NVR switch, casters, and a special item I designed myself. When making the cabinet, I wanted to brand the router table with something, so I designed a brass plate that has a router table logo that ChatGPT made for me. And then I sent that off to PCBWay.com, which also happens to be the sponsor of today's video. And they sent me this package that I opened up, and I found this little nice brass plaque, along with some gifts. And if you want to make something similar, it's so easy. You upload your files to their website, they will give you a quote based on your material and color choices, and then they make and ship it to you. They do 3D printing, CNC machining, and of course PCB assemblies and prototypes. Go check out PCBWay.com and let them know I sent you by using the code in the link down below for a $5 welcome bonus. Once the cabinet was done, I used the Shaper Origin to cut the hole for the router lift and the router fence. And after that I could place the router lift and make sure it was a good and tight fit, which it was. It really was. Then I routed a groove for the T-track. If you see the small dust cloud spitting on my shirt whilst routing, this is the absolute worst part of this build. I've cleaned up so much black dust. Well, why didn't you use the dust collection on the router? It sucks, alright? But also because I couldn't find it, and the reason why I'm making a router table. I started by making one drawer, because this was my first time ever trying undermount drawer slides, so I had some pieces cut according to the plans I found on Amazon. I probably should have gotten some Bloom drawer mounts, but have you seen the prices of them? I glued and brad nailed the pieces together, and then this happened. Okay, so I spent the afternoon going outside, cutting up the plywood to make my first drawer for this project, which I did right now. First time using undermount drawers, so be aware, but I miscalculated. So here's the drawer, and I was supposed to measure the inside, but I made the outside measurement what was supposed to be the inside measurement. So it isn't as wide as it's supposed to be, but I'll just add some pieces here where the hinges go as an extra and it'll work out. At least now I realized my mistake, so tomorrow I'll be back at it making more drawers, the correct size, I hope. In all honesty, it took me 5 tries to understand the instructions from the manufacturer of the drawer slides. And that probably says more about me than anything else, but honestly, look at these instructions. When I had attached the last drawer though, I finally understood the drawing, so if I ever use these again, I know how. So I guess I learned something new. And if you wonder why I chose these drawer slides, well, I wanted to try undermount drawer slides, but these were $13 a pair compared to $44 of the Bloom mounts. Before I attached the drawer fronts, I attached these 3D printed drawer handles that I designed for this project. I used the Shaper Origin to cut out the shapes for the handles, and that's one neat feature of drawing up the project in CAD beforehand. All of the 3D prints for this entire project are included in the files for the router table. All of the prints in this video were printed on the Creality K1 Max because they sent it to me and I had to use it to show you guys. Full transparency. But I will say, it's a freaking awesome 3D printer. It was easy to assemble since there were basically nothing to assemble. It has a big LCD screen in front, but it works over Wi-Fi with their slicer, so getting up and running was a total breeze. And the reason this was perfect for this project was that I wanted to print some pieces that were 300 millimeters long, like this bit holder. And this printer can print 300 millimeters square. I am using plastic for the bits for a reason. There's nothing wrong with wooden bit holders, but they will contract moist and eventually the bits will start rusting. With plastic, they won't. For this project I printed a bunch of different stuff on this printer, and with all the updates to 3D printing that's been happening over the past 2 years, I'm absolutely thrilled about this printer. This one is $899 at the time of recording this video, and with all the bells and whistles of this machine, I think that's a good price. Whenever 3D printing came around, it wasn't for everyone, but this, anyone can use this. The plan when starting a project is always grander than the result. That's what it feels like to me, at least. I started out thinking I would make the best router table I could think of, and although this came together looking really good, halfway through I started feeling like, nah. But that's probably the critical me. Before attaching anything to the cabinet, I went over it with Rubio Monocoat Pure. It kind of darkens the MDF a bit and adds a bit of protection. The NVR switch I had planned for was kind of bothering me. So I have this new idea, because I was going to put the on-off switch right here, and then I was going to make like a channel on the inside here, and then have a smaller, narrower door right here. Then I just realized that causes a lot of issues. The cables are too short. I would have to make them longer and stuff. So then I realized if I just put this here, albeit it's a big stretch if I'm over there routing to turn it off. It's not that far, and it solves all of my issues, so I think I'm just going to put it there. I wired the NVR switch through the cabinet with some 3D printed cylinders to make it look nice. I attached the router lift by drilling 4 holes down the MDF and added this sheet steel frame. That was an extra along with the mounting kit. So it was an optional add-on that I opted for. The bolts connect to the mounting kit that goes on the inside of the cabinet. I also screwed the runners for the fence in place and added the fence by attaching the handles to it. I 3D printed a small handle for the door to the router and attached a small insert nut with a branding iron. That way I could add a machine screw to it from the inside of the cabinet. The idea behind the handles for this build was not to have something I could get stuck on. That's why all the handles for the drawers are inset. The big drawers aren't really planned out yet, but I did add some of this foam from a company called Shadow Foam that is easy to cut around shapes and have stuff stored neatly. I'll probably fill these drawers up eventually. The cord runs through the back of the router cabinet up to get connected, and that too has a small 3D print that prevents the dust from getting out. Talking about dust, I designed this abomination that connects the 2 hoses and leads it out on the back of the cabinet and ends up on this magnetic port on the outside. That way I can connect it using my magnetic dust port, available on my website for 3D printing, and attach that to the cabinet. The sloppiest part of this router table was the back panel. I didn't cut a rabbit for that beforehand because I don't know, honestly, I didn't think that part through. At least I finished the back panel with some Rubio Monocoat Pre-Color Intense Black. The last couple of details are a light to actually see what I'm doing at the router table. This one is flexible so that I can adjust the location of it. A fold-up outfeed table, because that was suggested to me and not a bad idea at all. And a couple of extras for the router table given to me by Banggood, like these feather boards, these beautiful aluminium feeders that attaches to the fence, and some router bits. Links to everything I've used down below. The router bits drawer has the 3D printed pieces I made for easy access. These are my favorite bits. I don't own all of my favorite bits yet, so if you have any suggestions on a good bit set to get, let me know. On the bottom of the drawer I added a bunch more in this MDF with holes drilled into it and these plastic inserts to add the bits into. I also 3D printed a storage solution for these plates that are magnetically attached to the router lift, and a small container for other leftovers that just needs a place to go. I also made a small box with a lid to hold some of the tools that you need often, like the wrenches to change bits, the small handle for the router lift and some other accessories. And if I lift that up, there's a small box with some extra storage underneath. With that done, I think the router table is finished. So I'm not doing that thing where I act all happy today, but that's a bit annoying because I actually think this turned out quite good. It's a bit high, yes. But if you subscribe, you'll see me build my new workshop, and I think the height of this machine will make more sense in there without the casters. I've got more storage than before, and I have a really good router table. Now, the cost amounts to $2,450. Which, yes, that's a lot, but compared to buying a good quality router table, I think I got more out of this, to be honest. Because this is totally adapted to what I want. I don't like the undermount drawer slides. If I were to make this again, I would go for the premium ones. The drawers are a bit wobbly and they kind of tilt outwards when they're shut, which might be due to something I did, I'm not sure. But who cares, it's a router table, it's not the Mona Lisa. Alright. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.